Welcome to New Release Review, part of the Movie Friends podcast. My name is Seth.
Oh, I'm here too. Michelle? Seth, I don't know what to do on these podcast episodes.
I'm like, does the host go first?
Did a truck go by? He just told us.
That's right. Today we are joined by not only a guest, but also by Michelle. She watched a new movie. But before we get into that, today we're talking about Saltburn from 2023, directed by Emerald Fennels. We will be discussing spoilers the entire time, so if you have not seen Saltburn, please stop listening, go watch the movie, and then come back and listen to this. So in addition to Michelle being here, we're also joined by our friend Ingrid. Hi, Ingrid.
Hi.
Yay!
Excited to be here.
I am also excited that you're here. I wasn't planning on doing a Saltburn episode. And
I'm
then
so glad you changed your mind.
I think I replied to you or you replied to me and you were like, you have to do it. And I said, if you'll do it. And now we're doing it.
Yeah, I posted my reaction on Instagram and you slid into my DMs and I was like, yes, all I want to do is talk about this movie. So please.
And
it's
then
been
Michelle,
my whole personality.
Yeah. Michelle, how did you kind of come to this watching this movie?
Well, I've been seeing a lot of people post their reactions and they're so polarizing. It's like, this is the funniest thing. This is the worst thing. I was like, what is this thing? And then when I saw a couple of friends over Christmas, they said they were watching it and that they had to stop because you have to really pay attention. It was Amy and Alex. They were doing a puzzle, and it's not really like you do a puzzle to a movie type of movie.
Okay.
But she explained, she's like, it takes place in Oxford. They really filmed there. It's rich kids. It's England. I was like, oh, I'm there because I freaking love this genre on multiple accounts. And then when you said, hey, I'm going to do this with Ingrid, I was like, well, I'll let you know if I watch it. That was literally It's like, nice, exclamation point. I'll let you know. And then I was like, okay, I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, when you said, yeah, I'll let you know, I was like, oh, she's not watching this movie. I was like, there's no way.
She didn't dive right in like, yes, of course.
Yeah.
No.
Well, Michelle's coming off of watching the entirety of The Crown.
Yeah, so I started season 1 when it first came out and then fell off of it. Not because it was bad, I just fell off of it. And then I skipped seasons 2 and 3. And so over break, I started right at 4, which is where the Diana of it all picks up. And I have been deep into The Crown. I watch an episode, I listen to the companion podcast, I do my own research. That's literally been my life for 2 weeks. Like, obsessed with it. And so I finished The Crown on Monday night, which ends in the storyline, it ends in 2005 when Charles and Camilla finally are able to get married. And I literally minutes later, I'm like, let me go into Saltburn.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you find out it's 2006.
Yes, it's 2006. Yeah. But I was like, oh, perhaps I should have given myself some more time.
Ingrid, what about you? How did you kind of come to this? Like, had you heard about it before it came out?
Yeah, so I kept seeing clips of people's reactions on TikTok mostly. And I kept seeing people film like their parents reacting and really I was like, okay, I need to do it. So the other night I decided I'm going to watch it and I'm so glad I did.
Did you watch it by yourself?
I did. Yeah.
Were you glad that you watched it by yourself?
Probably. But I do want to have my mom watch it and record her. So
Got it.
That should be funny. But yeah, pretty much I just kept seeing the reactions and I was like, okay, I really need to watch this. So
yeah. Seth, what about you? Did you watch it by yourself or did Jean join you?
Jean joined me, and I had heard about this for a long time. This is Emerald Fennels' follow-up to Promising Young Woman, which is a film that I have not seen, but she had won, I think she won an Oscar for the screenplay for that, I believe. At the time, people liked it, and then in the following years, it's kind of become pretty polarizing. Like, people really, really hate it. And a lot of people hate it for the politics, which is the same reason why people hate this movie. And I'm very curious now, having seen Saltburn twice and enjoying it, I'm very curious to go back and watch Promising Young Woman. But for me, this got onto my radar for Barry Keoghan because he is my favorite person, young actor working today. Loved him in Killing of a Sacred Deer. Love him in Eternals, which I might be the only Eternals fan, the Marvel movie on planet Earth.
Wasn't my favorite, but he was good.
I absolutely love him in...
Wasn't he just in Banshees?
Yeah, love him in Banshees of Inisherin. He's great. He's got such a magnetic personality. He's got an interesting look, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Some people think that he is unattractive. I think that that's crazy. He's also going to be the new Joker in the Matt Reeves Batman movies.
Okay.
I could see that.
Yeah, he's so great. And so I was like, yes, I will see this movie just for him.
Wow.
And I ended up seeing a whole lot of him.
All of them.
Yeah.
Every crevasse of him.
That's a very nice crevasse.
So Ingrid,
Thoroughly
just kind of
enjoyed.
like general thoughts on the movie. What did you think?
I loved it. It was one of those movies that the second it ended, all I did was look up everything I could about it. So I wanted to know the directing, like why they did this, theories, Easter eggs. I wanted to know everything. And it's been a while since I've seen a movie like that. So, and I was entertained, and I love movies like this that are, what is it categorized as? Is it like a dark? Because I looked it up and it said dark comedy thriller. Like, I've seen everything.
Yeah, I've seen psychological thriller.
Yeah.
But I definitely think comedy has to be in there.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
But I love these types of movies where there's a twist and you kind of feel like, should I be laughing? Should I be like, what's going on? So yeah, I really liked it a lot. I just feel like I haven't really been watching a lot of movies. So when I sat down to watch this and afterwards having that feeling of I want to know everything about it.
It's nice when a movie can do that, because a movie can truly like give you a feeling in any direction. Did you feel the same way on the second time around? Or did you watch a second time around for tonight?
Yeah, well, I did watch it because me and my coworker were just talking about it so much, and she told me, she's like, oh, did you notice this? Did you notice? And I was like, no, I didn't. So then I had to go back and watch it. And then I just wanted to like double check my notes too for this. So, and it was just an excuse to watch it again. So
right.
I'm so curious what you noticed. I want to hear about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can tell you.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one thing that I thought was cool that I did catch, but I didn't realize, I was like, that can't be actually what I just saw. And once I noticed it and then I checked afterwards, it was the case when the sister Venetia, right?
Great name.
She's telling that story about Shelley, I believe her name was, and she was saying how she thought she saw someone, and then they walked by the window and then they ended up dying. During that scene, you see Jacob Elordi walk behind her across the window. And then exactly 1 hour later is when he dies.
Wow.
That's cool.
Interesting.
So I noticed someone walk by the window and I was like, who's that? Just a guy. And then I remember rewinding and I'm like, that looks like Jacob Elordi's character who was Felix. And then I just finished the movie and then I looked afterwards because I didn't want to spoil anything. And then once I was done, I was like, that was him. So it was like a quick little foreshadowing that I thought was very cool that they did that.
That's very cool. Seth, what'd you think? First time and second time.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure what to think as the film started. It's got an odd tone when we go into Oxford and we're getting this wonder of Barry Keoghan walking through and all the different people, and he gives the air of being lost a little bit, and then we get to the dinner and his other nerdy lonely guy yells at him. Suddenly I was like, oh, this is kind of an odd tone. And in that scene, when we're looking over Keoghan's shoulder, we see Jacob Elordi and Archie Madekwe as Farley and Felix. And so like they're still kind of they're like inside, they're like hovering, and Oliver is kind of hovering around them. I didn't know if we were going for camp. I didn't know if we were going for scary. I didn't know if we were going for funny. And I kind of felt that way through like the majority of the movie, kind of until the end when he kills Elspeth by played by Rosamund Pike. And then her arm falls down and he kind of like picks her arm up and like flops it back on him. And then I was like, oh, I get what this is. I see how this is funny now. And so
That's
my
when you
second,
thought it was funny.
yeah. Oh yeah. That's hilarious. That shot and that little movement, that's hilarious.
When
I might be alone in that, but so
I didn't catch that part and think it was funny, but so obviously, you know, they kind of lead us to think he's this like poor loser
Yeah.
there on a scholarship, really just wants friends. I thought it was going to get to the point where he's obsessed with Felix, which he was,
Yeah.
but not in the way of like, I'm going to kill your whole family and take everything you own
Yeah.
vibes. I just thought it was like going to be like an obsession, killer instinct kind of vibe. But then it's funny because this is the conversation I had with my coworker. The biggest scenes that everyone's talking about are the bathtub scene,
Yeah.
the grave scene, the bench outside.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it's because I read a lot of dark romance,
Yeah.
but I was like, that's not a big deal.
Same.
Like, okay.
Same.
Like, I was just
you
like,
do you, boo.
okay.
Like,
He drank his soup.
right?
Like, all right.
You like period blood? Go for it.
Like, I wasn't horrified with all that, whereas a lot of people were.
Yeah.
But what made me cringe more was like the egg scene where he was like really awkward about his breakfast, and they were like, you got to go to that table, and like he didn't like his eggs, and I was just like cringing. And then when the parents being alive being revealed, I was like, get me out of here. Like, I was uncomfortable for that. Everyone in that scene, I felt more uncomfortable during that.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ingrid. I agree with you on that.
Michelle, what about you?
Yeah. Oh man, it's been a roller coaster. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And this is a me problem. You guys know, and those listening, if you know by now, it takes a lot for me to watch a movie, and a movie that I have to be in the mood for. Like I don't just tune into a movie for enjoyment. It's usually, or a movie I'm not that sure of. It's because I'm really excited for one. And I thought Ant was going to watch this with me. He didn't. I put it on, and like the first like 5 minutes, he's like, no. And he left. So, and like I told you, like I'm telling you, minutes after finishing The Crown, I go into this. And the funny parts, I laughed. I love the quirkiness of it.
Yeah.
The humor was great. And I thought Rosamund was my favorite character.
Yeah.
Elspeth?
Mm-hmm.
Elspeth. And Sir James was great.
Yeah.
And the butler, like all of that to me was Wes Anderson. This is Wes Anderson meets Parasite for me.
Oh, okay.
When it ended, I went on a tirade to Ant and I was like, what a fucking waste of my time. I hate this movie. It falls short. Like he's a sociopath, but at first I'm just like, so what? You're fucking jealous of these rich kids? Like, we don't understand why you are the way you are. Your parents are normal. You have siblings. Like, and I wasn't really triggered by any of the other scenes, you know, him fucking the grave and drinking the soup in the tub and all of that. And I was just like, whatever. But I thought it looked great. It looked fantastic. And the acting was really good. And the quirky, funny parts, I wanted more of.
Yeah.
That being said, I listened to a couple of interviews with Emerald, and I respect her process. And it's just, you know, I won't watch this again.
Sure.
Yeah, but it fell short for me. I feel like it was missing.
I think that you're correct.
Let me also 100%. Like ask you guys this, and I hate to relate everything back to television, but if this was a story that maybe was over like 6 episodes, and we even got like turned up the creep even more, or kind of like understood Oliver's mind and thinking, and I understand we're touching upon like obsession themes and class themes, right? But I think this would have been a really good series. Like, I needed more character development because I was just like, Oliver, you fucking suck, dude. Like,
I mean, you did.
I know. I don't feel nothing for you, bro.
Yeah. I wanted less. I think this movie's too long.
It's way too
think that-
long, but we
I
How
focus
long was it?
over 2 hours and 15 minutes. It,
Yeah.
That's
he
not-
fucks the grave for like 10 minutes, and it's like, all right, I get it. Nice butt,
Yeah.
though. Great butt.
You said you feel like there's something missing. I think that there's a lot of stuff missing here,
Yeah.
but I almost feel like some of it is on purpose. How I latched onto this, like the wavelength that I grabbed onto, was that this is close to a send up of Downton Abbey culture, The Crown, all of the Netflix teen college drama where you have actors who are way too old to be playing these characters, talking way too sophisticated and way too seriously in any situation. And it just kind of felt like if you enjoy those things, and there's nothing wrong with enjoying those things,
Which I do.
this is like a funny like twist on those that if you're coming into it expecting just like a straight drama, you might not appreciate how this plays on some of those tropes, I suppose. But we're lacking in story, we're lacking in character. We just have a lot of like extreme emotions, like especially like Farley and Oliver. It's just, but it looks great.
It does
And
look
it's
great.
really funny. I think it's
Yeah, it
really
was
funny.
beautiful.
It looks so good. But like the funny parts were so
Yeah.
good. And I think I just wanted it'd be a different movie, you know, if we kind of just made this
Yeah.
kind of in the dark. And like Carey Mulligan as poor Pamela, I mean,
I love that
obsessed.
that was actually the character's name, though.
I know.
Yes, that's actually her name.
If you look up her name, like that's her name.
She was great.
Poor dear
I
Pamela.
want more of her. I want more of the mom.
So I want to ask both of you. This movie takes place almost 20 years ago. Old age of 2006. How were you? Do you feel like they captured enough of the fashion or the music or like anything from that time? Like, did it feel like a period piece?
I think so. No one had a cell phone, really.
Yeah.
Like, you know, no one was at the party like, hey, let me Snapchat this. Like,
Yeah.
so. And then I think you realize it's 2006 because at the beginning they have like a banner or something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Class of 2006.
And I remember seeing that. I was like,
Yeah.
senior year. Lovely.
Yeah.
But I think it did a good job of capturing that time.
Honestly, good point about the cell phones, like lack thereof, right? I think the use of music for sure puts you into the time, and then the show of, you know, Superbad, for instance, playing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in terms of
the rain, they watch the rain.
oh, and the
they're all
ring,
scared.
yeah,
It's
and
like,
the ring.
Why is she wet? Because she's been in the well.
But like the fashion part for me wasn't so much because I feel like fashion today it's such a conglomerate of all eras
Yeah.
at this point.
And British fashion
Right.
is like
Yeah,
a whole.
yeah.
They weren't wearing layered Hollister tank tops and ripped jeans
Right.
and flip flops like us from Old Navy. So
Exactly.
Oxford had different vibes.
I feel like
think.
Jacob Elordi took the brunt of the like 2006 look, like with his hair and his facial piercing,
His
and,
Live
like, some
Strong
pop collar.
bracelet.
Yes,
What a throwback.
I know.
It's odd to be at an age now where movies and TV shows are going back and being taken place in the time when I was a teenager, and you know,
We're vintage now. We're vintage.
We are
Yeah.
vintage.
that's
Depressing.
it's not my favorite thing. So the movie starts with the ending where Oliver is explaining, I didn't love him. I did love him, but I wasn't in love with him. At the end, we get the full version of that where he actually goes into, I hate him and I hated all of you. How did you guys feel about that? Do you feel that he is, you know, in movies we say we have a reliable and an unreliable narrator. And so when we have an unreliable narrator, you can't really base your opinion on what happens on what he says. And so what do you think Oliver is? Like, do you believe him? Do we not believe him? How much is this is in his head? How much of what he's saying is the truth at this point?
I feel like I love that the only bits that we get of actual Oliver are from his parents. So you're kind of like, what really was the motive?
Mm-hmm.
Because he wasn't actually poor. So at first you think it's for the money.
Yeah.
And then you realize he had money. So really, I think he's just obsessed with their life and the lifestyle. So, but, when it comes to him loving or hating, part of me feels like he had to have loved him at some level. Not romantically, but in a way that love kind of becomes like obsession in a way. And then I think the hate comes out from that because he just wants to be him. That's how I took it. And then it just spiraled into, because clearly mentally ill, just spirals into this whole I think I don't think he went to that school thinking, I'm going to take over this kid's life and kill his whole family. And that wasn't I think it just spiraled into that when he realized I could take this over. And I think they foreshadowed that when he was talking about poor dear Pamela, whatever her name was, and telling Elspeth, like, oh yeah, you shouldn't trust her. I get bad vibes. And I'm like, he's talking about himself.
Right.
So I think he slowly turns into that person that was his game plan. So I think it was love, but then it was also hate. So I think he's reliable to that point. Crazy, but reliable with what he's saying.
Yeah, I agree to that, because an extreme form of hate is an obsession that's actually love.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with everything he was saying, and he became who he said he hated. It was just tough too, like 15 years later. Like, wow,
we do a big time jump.
What were we doing in the in between? Working on, like,
growing his hair out.
I just
waiting for Sir whatever to die.
Yeah, and then all these people die. None of the Henrys questioned about this. Like, he wasn't looked into. Whatever, that wasn't your question, Seth. I just felt I had to get that out there.
Go for it.
Yeah, what do you think? Did you believe the narration?
I hate to disagree with you guys, but the main question that I've been wrestling with in between my two viewings was, what is Oliver's motivation? Is it to steal a country estate? Like, you know what I mean? And on rewatch, I really think that he just is an angry, evil person. When he starts to explain to Elspeth everything that he's done, the first shot that we go back to is him looking out the window at Felix in the courtyard. Felix at this point hasn't even interacted with him yet. Farley did. Farley had mocked his scarf, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Venetia tells him when she's in the bath that she calls him Spider-Man because he's just like sulking around all the time. And I think we get that in the shot of him in the dark room looking out into the people. And I think for whatever reason, he just chose Felix, possibly because, in his explanation of his and Felix's relationship, he says, everyone loves Felix, and that's the problem. So I think that he does truly hate all of them. And because they made it so easy for him to do it, he did it. It's kind of like there's a line, I won't say what it is in case someone hasn't seen it, but there's a line in a horror movie. It's like a break-in type horror movie, and the couple who's being terrorized by these killers says, "Why are you doing this to us?" And the killers say, "Because you were home." And it's very dark and it's very chilling. And that's the vibe that I got from Oliver was, it's not about Felix. It's about him going out on his own for the first time, out from under his parents who are nice and normal and
vanilla.
Yeah. And he is out on his own, and now he can be himself. And the himself that he chooses to be is Felix and also this crazy killer. Like, that is who he is. The only thing that I can't put together are all the scenes where he's by himself. There's a lot of kneeling down that he does in this. Like, he's stooping a lot. He's stooping in the bathtub. He's stooping at the bench. He's stooping at the grave. He lowers himself down into the water to steal all the stones. There's a lot of images of that. And at the end, we get a few quick cuts. And so I'm not quite sure like what she's trying to say there, but this dude's a little freak. He's a freaky weirdo. And having Barry Keoghan play him just kind of solidifies in my mind that like that's what they were going for. And I think one reason why people are upset, and maybe rightfully so, is because the movie starts you off rooting for him. You sympathize with him because you think he has no money. You feel bad when he has to pay for the drinks. You feel bad when Felix assumes that he's going to walk his bike back to school. But then you see, oh, all of those times that I was made to feel bad for him were tricks. I shouldn't have felt bad for him. And so you feel tricked, and people don't like to feel tricked. So
Did you feel bad for him?
definitely.
You did. He was mean to his friend.
Well, I don't know if that was it was his friend.
His
It
like
was his
only friend, right? I'm using
It
that
was my
very
friend.
lightly. But
When he abandons him at the bar, I was like, "Oh, that's not nice." But
yeah, I didn't.
That's such a common trope.
I know.
Though, where it's like the nerdy kid gets accepted by the group
Right.
and then ditches the one or two friends that they had, and they're like, "Wow, it's very Mean Girls.
You're better than
Yeah.
us. Oh, it's been
Right,
done so
right.
many times. Yeah.
Yeah.
right, yeah. So I don't know. I thought while I think that the movie should be a little bit shorter, it just looks so good. Like so much of it. There was one shot of a spiral staircase, and the camera's like slowly pulling down, while also maybe zooming. I'm not sure, but it does this weird. It does this weird effect on your eyes, and I was like, if this was in a Christopher Nolan movie, people would be like, "Oh, this looks so great," but because it's in this like odd, bizarre, weird freak fest, people are just hating on it. But I don't know.
Yeah. No, it looked great. That was definitely.
And I think they said that was the first time that place has ever been used in a film or TV or anything.
Really?
It's never been used. Yeah.
Wow.
So they scouted it out, and it's never been used. So they were, and it was gorgeous. So
Yeah.
Pretty.
it was cool to see. Yeah. Apparently, it's never been. That was the first time it's ever been used for a production.
Right. How did you guys feel about the scene after Felix dies and they're in the dining hall eating the pie, the cold pie, and they're just kind of like trying to change the subject, and then the curtains close and it's all red? How did you guys feel about that?
It was so British because the British don't show emotions, so they were just trying to move on.
Yeah.
And just ignore everything. And there was a lot of foreshadowing in that scene too, especially with the sister and her wine.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you noticed the timing when she's pouring the wine and she's just completely zoned out. As soon as the wine is done is when the curtains finally get shut.
Yes.
And it's everything's red.
Yeah.
So the red is spilling everywhere. And I was like, I think she's next. I'm like, I'm getting vibes. I'm getting vibes here. But yeah, it was just so awkward. And even just a little before that, when they first find him with the dad, and he's just in complete denial, like, oh, let's pick him up. I'm like, oh God.
Yes.
But yeah, no, that whole scene. And then Farley is the only one, like, what the hell are we doing? And he's American. And doesn't he say, like, get your American feelings out of here or something?
Yeah. Not all of us want your American feelings or something like that.
That was great.
So very British. I like that they showed that, because I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I remember watching things where they reference that the Brits, when there's death or something like that, especially the rich one, like monarch, like that level, I feel like I remember seeing shows mentioning that they don't show emotion. So I think they were really honing in on like, oh, let's just continue and eat our gross food and be awkward.
Right.
Yeah. And so like coming minutes off The Crown, I was not affected by this at all because I'm so used to in this world where we don't react, or we react very either in private or in a very stoic way. I just thought, we can't get the blinds closed from the butler, and I thought that was hysterical.
And that was hysterical.
It was so funny.
Right.
Yeah.
And I
saw someone make a point about the window, because that's the window where Felix walks by, the doppelganger Felix walks by, and then that's the window that they bring his body across.
Mm.
So they can't close the window, and that's the same window he walked by.
Right.
Interesting.
So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Maybe the ghost of
Thought that was
Felix
cool.
was saying, no, you need to
Yeah.
look out and see my dead body as the coroner is carrying it out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I love this scene. Richard E. Grant as Sir James. He's great. He's really funny. Going back, if you look over his career, he's got really great comedic roles and very good serious roles. And I think he does a good mixture of both here. He's terrifying in this scene, like when he starts yelling at Farley and when Oliver insinuates that Farley is the one who gave him Felix drugs. And yeah, it was really great. How did you guys feel about Farley?
Hated him. I could not stand him. I was like, can you take him out? Of course, he's the only one that lives.
Right.
Like, but I understand why he was there. What, like, as a character, you know, he was the only one that kind of didn't fall for his tricks and his. I think he just realized that this guy is a phony. Maybe he didn't know exactly how and why, but I think he just knew and didn't get good vibes from the start. So he was just that one that it was always questioning him. But I think it's funny that he didn't die because there was a line that he says, I always come back. I think it was at the party when he took off the mask and he's like, I always come back. I'm like, sequel?
Right.
Is Farley coming back? But yeah, I'm like, he's giving Americans a bad name here. Just real annoying.
Yeah. I texted Seth halfway through, and because Seth was like, I hate Farley. I'm like, he's like a gnat. I'm just like, shoo, shoo, shoo,
Yes.
shoo.
Mm-hmm.
But I do understand his role
Mhm.
because he was all of us at some point of just knowing.
Right. But it turns out that Farley was right. Like Farley is obnoxious as a character.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But and it's just kind of another little like twist of making you question like your own feelings and why you kind of can pigeonhole characters so quickly early on, and you're like, but then in the end you're like, oh God, wait, I should have been rooting for Farley this whole time. Ugh.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of rooting for Venetia.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, why not?
Yeah, she was nice.
She was nice.
Odd for Elspeth to be like impotent from the age of 14.
Is that odd for her though? I felt like everything
I don't know
she
what's odd
said
for
was so
Elspeth.
her.
So
God,
quirky,
she was
that one.
amazing. I loved. Oh God, she was so good.
She's great. I sent you guys the song that she talks about, Common People by Pulp, where she's like, people thought that was about me. And Felix says earlier that an author, I'm not familiar with the author, but that the books that he wrote was like about the house that they grew up in. And
yeah.
How did you feel about the ending? And by the ending, I'm just going to say the nude dance through the house to Murder on the Dance Floor.
I just want to say that song has been on repeat for me. Like I'm at the gym and I'm like, yeah. Murder on the dance floor.
Did you choreograph a dance for yourself at the gym where you're just like,
I literally want to dance around my house like that. I love the ending because it was the perfect mix of what the whole movie was, like comedic, campy, crazy, twisted. This man just completed a mass like murder of this family, and then he's just dancing around naked. And I love the touch with the puppets and the rocks too.
Yes.
Just and then him just flopping away. I loved it. It was perfect. Just I just think it summed it up for what it was, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it just cuts to the end and you're just like, what did I just watch? Again, that's how I felt.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the ending was pretty perfect to sum up this movie.
Michelle, as you're watching the ending, are you just like, what is like, are you laughing at this point, or are you just like, I'm done?
No, I'm just like, thank God. Yeah.
I was pretty shocked. I think it's one of my new favorite endings. It's so funny and odd and weird. And I love endings that don't give you much, but if you're not along for the ride, you're just going to be like, what on earth was that? Where since I was along for the ride, I was like, yeah, this is
But
pretty
even if you're
perfect,
not
but
along for the ride, you're still like, no, this makes sense. This
Mhm.
works perfectly. Like it really does seal it with a kiss.
yeah.
Truly. It's
A little bow
just
of
Yeah.
cuckoo.
Yeah. I'm curious. Keoghan said that it was not prosthetics; that it was really just him naked.
Mhm.
I'm curious to see if we'll get any behind the scenes info on that. I would also like to know how much of that he choreographed, how much of that was, just him kind of going for it. I'm very curious to see, because there are some moves in that where I'm like, oh man, this is great. This is pretty great.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of American Psycho a
Yeah.
little bit. The vibes of like when he's listening to music and he's jamming around. I'm like, same energy. It's the same
Definitely.
energy.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah, this movie is getting compared to a lot of other media, like Wuthering Heights, Talented Mr. Ripley, Brideshead Revisited, and then every other classic like weirdo white guy sociopath that we've seen in the past.
Almost all horror movies, pretty much.
Yeah. But so I don't know. I mean, I think that there's a lot to talk about with the depiction of class. A lot of people are having a problem with that. But for me, I'm just not interested in that. I don't think it's what the movie's focusing on. I think the movie is focusing on Oliver. I think it's definitely, I think you'd have to kind of close your eyes to not pick up on things that they are saying about British class, but I'm not British. And if the movie's not going to spell it out for me, I'm just not that interested in it. I don't know. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
I, at no point while watching it, was thinking. I acknowledge that obviously it came, at least in the beginning, when you think he's like this poor kid there on a scholarship, and then he's thrown into this world of rich. And even though he came from a well off family, they weren't rich.
Right.
So
Yeah.
him walking in and seeing this and having the awkward breakfast and not knowing, but then again, maybe he did know and he was just playing it off. You don't know.
Yeah.
Because they could have, his family, didn't they mention they would go on these trips and vacations? So I'm sure they did. He at least knew about breakfast and how you go to the side table, the eggs are brought to you,
Yeah.
That's so true.
But at no point the whole class thing didn't bother me at all.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Especially when we meet his parents. I was like, this isn't even.
It was so awkward. I was like, get out of there.
Yeah, because we're coming off of a long strain. Like, it felt like during the pandemic, every movie that came out was like, hey, aren't rich people evil? Isn't this crazy? Rich people suck, right? And this feels in the same vein, but again, just kind of playing with the tropes and the expectations a little bit. I don't know that it's trying to concretely say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just want to be a freaky little guy, running around on the screen doing crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Agreed.
Right. I think
it's giving a little like eat the rich, but like it's not the whole message.
No.
Right.
I think the whole message is this guy's a psycho.
Yeah.
Saw his opportunity and fucking took it. Like he was just like, hey, I'm going to take everything you have.
Right.
Because I can.
Yeah. Right. And it just is like playing on the themes of obsession. And she likes to let's push the buttons. Let's make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. Have you guys seen Promising Young Woman?
Yes.
No, I haven't.
Yeah. I watched another one I watched by myself.
Did this feel in the same vein to you?
Yeah. A little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I liked that one, actually.
Okay. So if you had to rank the tub scene, the vampire scene, and the grave scene in terms of crazy, where are you going?
Craziest grave. Second craziest tub. Third is, you said the period scene?
Yeah, the vampire. Yeah.
The vampire scene would be third for me.
Third is least crazy?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I'd have to agree with that order as well.
Okay. All right. I think I'm going tub scene first because,
well,
licking up the water, okay, but when he puts his tongue down into that hole and then goes like, I was like, that
He was really slurping.
Get those drips. You know what I'm saying?
If you've ever done any type of plumbing to suck water out of a tub.
Hopefully they clean their drains thoroughly because
hopefully, but if not, they got Oliver to take care of it.
And what's the other two?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I would say tub first, and then the grave, and then the vampire scene.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other thoughts on this movie? I'm sure there's a lot. I have a lot, but
just that I really love it. I really do. I don't know. I don't know if it's because I've been very much in my book era. I haven't really been watching a lot of shows. I've been watching some documentaries here and there. I guess because I'm in that vibe, because any TV I have been watching has been like crazy documentaries about crazy people. So this was like in that. And I don't know. It's funny because when my coworkers and I were saying, let's watch this movie, I knew about the tub scene and I knew about the grave scene, but I didn't know any context around it because that's what everyone was reacting to.
Yeah.
In my head, I was like, okay, one of these guys dies and they're gay lovers. I just thought it was a gay love movie. Just, I didn't know any context. So then when all this happens, I'm like, oh, I was way off.
Yeah.
Just extremely. I didn't realize it was a thriller, and I love thrillers, so that was just the part that pleasantly surprised me when I'm like, oh, he's gonna kill this whole family?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm into it. So, I don't know. I'm excited that this movie came out, and I feel like we haven't had a movie like this in a while, at least that I've seen. So, and I love that I could watch it at home. So that was even better.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought this was a dark comedy about rich kids in England, so I guess it is that in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
It definitely touches upon that. So,
which death do you think was the worst? Because I'm just saying, I mean, she wasn't dead, but the ripping of the tube, I just had to bring that up because I was just like, oh my.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
I think that one.
Do you think he killed Venetia or she pushed her to do it herself? Because he did put the razor there.
That was
and they never show it.
Yeah, that was the one that felt the most far-fetched, other than Elspeth just falling ill. Like, it doesn't show him poisoning her. So I was like, was he just waiting around and she just randomly got sick? Like, that one I didn't really get. But I think that he just mostly pushed her.
I do too.
To do it.
He's a manipulator. So I think took advantage of in a vulnerable state. And yeah.
Because when he gets her to kiss him back and he's narrating, he says that was her like breaking point because she hated him so much, but then also was attracted to him, and that like broke her mind.
Yeah, he was messing with her a lot.
Yeah, I didn't understand, like, when he rips the tube out, I was like, how are you gonna, this is murder and like looks like murder. How are you not going to get busted for this one?
Right. I mean, do you think he does? Do you think he goes under investigation? How does he not? How does he, like, does he cut off his parents and his sister? His parents do say he's always been a loner. Right. So no one, also here's another one that really, how are we paying? I guess she now has Elspeth's money.
Yeah.
Well, don't we see her signing paperwork?
Yeah.
So maybe it's just he inherits her fortune, and I'm sure she's got enough for him to live off of for a while.
I was curious when Richard E. Grant says, how much money do you want to leave us and like never come back?
Yeah.
How much do you think that was?
That he was willing to give?
No, that he ended up taking.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Because, like, part of me feels like he didn't take that much because that's not the thrill.
Right.
I don't want to just take your money. That's boring. Free?
Right.
Not
I think he did it just, I think he took whatever it was just to make them feel like, okay, he's gone finally.
Right.
And then really not the case.
Like, how do you know she was at that coffee shop?
He
definitely was stalking her.
I know he planned all of it. I know, but it's just, all these little things. I'm like, 15 years later. Dude.
I was like, this lady is just going to be at this random coffee shop? I don't think so. I don't think people who live in castles are going to random coffee shops alone.
Yeah.
I mean, that was her summer place, right? She bought a flat.
And she said she bought a flat like the block over, so
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
assuming she was just
Like, what'd you do in the meantime? I mean, unless he lived off of the money for the 15 years,
That's what I'm
planned
saying.
out
yeah.
exactly how he's going to get the estate. And it's like, woohoo.
Yeah.
Here I am.
Full circle. What was the motive
Money
here?
on the dance floor.
I guess, yeah. Yeah.
Oh God, I love crazy characters. I can't.
Yeah. We've also been listening to that song over and over again, and
It's just a perfect song for that.
yeah. Great ending. And I think once the kind of hullabaloo of the shock of it all kind of wears off, I think that the movie will be remembered better
Yeah.
than worse, but could be wrong.
I think so. Do you guys feel like it's more liked or disliked? Because I don't know if my For You page is just different than you guys, but everyone I at least speak to or have seen loves it.
Yeah, I'm seeing more positive. Like the headlines are definitely drawing you in of, oh, the shock value of it.
The shock,
But then
yeah.
you go and read the review or you listen to an interview or you just see people post about it in a quick tweet or post and you're like, oh, everybody seems to love this. And that's why, which made me even more annoyed. And I was like, am I the only one that feels this way? Like, am
Yeah.
I the only one who's just like, this fell short? And
No,
the
I
comedy was
agree.
the
I
best
agree.
part. The
I
comedy was
agree
the
with
best
you.
part.
I think that there are some things that it's just not doing quite well. And if you're looking for those things, not that you were, but like if you're looking for it to be making a statement on class, and that's the metric by which you're,
no, wasn't looking for that.
Yeah.
gauging this movie's success, I don't think so. Or if you're looking for like good story and character development, everyone is very one note, and except for Oliver, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little mixed. I've just been seeing the people who like it are kind of like me, who are like, yeah, it's not a great movie, but I had a lot of fun with it. But then the people who hate it are like, this is evil. Emerald Fennel is evil.
Oh my God.
So
I don't think so. I think a lot of people just need to remember it's entertainment.
Right.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be, it's just a movie.
Yeah.
Take a breath.
Right. And that's why
Take
the
a
ending is
bath.
so good. And that's why the ending is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like, hey, come on, man. This is what it is. This is what this was all building to. Just
It's not
whatever.
that serious.
Right. It's not that serious. Yeah.
It's not that serious. It is what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, hey, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
No, thank
Thanks,
you.
Ing.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Ingrid. This was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. I'll talk about crazy psychopaths anytime.
Hey,
Thrillers are my jam, so
not so much mine, honestly. Like whenever I get too thrilled, I get too scared.
they're too thrilling. Got it.
I wanted to ask you, I don't know, probably a poor placement to do this, but I've read a couple articles and you said it in the beginning of the show, relating it to The Talented Mr. Ripley. I've never seen that movie. Is this very similar?
Yeah,
I didn't see it.
Yeah, Talented Mr. Ripley is it's about like a guy who's kind of weaseling his way in, and there's identity lying about where you're from, and
Gotcha. Okay.
It's the same kind of a thing. You have a character who's like suspicious, and
Yeah. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like an original idea. Like I said, it just feels like a fun send up of ideas that we're all used to.
Yeah. Did you get Parasite vibes?
A little bit, just because but in Parasite, I feel like it's funnier.
Did you see Parasite, Ingrid?
I didn't.
I bet you would like it if you liked this. It's more class. We see the class also divide. Yeah.
But like we see them planning different things, so it's like more funny. Where in this, really, I think that you don't know Oliver's motivations until really deep into the film. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's a little different. But all right, before we go, Ingrid, would you recommend this to people? Final thoughts, go.
100%. It's all I've been doing. I've convinced about 6 coworkers now to watch it.
Wow.
So, and I tell them to live text me, especially the ones that don't know anything about it at all, like not even the scenes.
Yeah.
So yes, I would recommend.
Great. Michelle?
Yeah, I would recommend. I feel like the people in my life, this is the type of movie they want. You got it, baby. For you.
Enjoy.
I don't recommend this if you're not into, like I said, freaky little guys being freaky for 2 hours.
What does that say
Like,
about my friend group? You know what I'm saying?
if that
I love freaky little guys. That's
if
what it
that
says.
sentence does not make you go then don't bother. There's not a great story that's going to overwhelm you. You know what I mean? Like, so thanks, guys. This was fun.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Have a good one.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Music by Anthony Vicora. If you like the show, please subscribe and give us a rating. It really helps us find new friends. Thanks!